Hello there YouTube, and welcome to my latest Fallout 4 build designed for survival mode, the Steampunk Soldier. If you're new around here, then make sure to subscribe to the channel for even more great builds and challenge runs, and if you enjoy the video, don't forget to let me know with a like, comment, and possibly even a share. The Steampunk Soldier grew up surrounded by people who were obsessed with the power of the atom, but he was more of a fan of gears and steam. There was something more real to it all. Scientists could mess around with their fancy tech, but nothing felt as satisfying as watching cogs go round and having hot steam fill the air with moisture. Growing up, he made all manner of contraptions, and although this kept a fair few of the other kids away, he was friendly and eager to show any of his friends whatever new invention he had come up with. The only thing he enjoyed more than building was sharing his creations with his friends, and letting them all try out what he had made. His unique personality meant that he didn't end up with many friends, but became part of a tight-knit group who stuck together through thick and thin. This meant that when the army started recruiting soldiers to fight against the communist threat, they all decided to join together instead of slowly being enlisted and separated. The Steampunk Soldier wasn't able to keep up with his inventions whilst in the army, and was instead forced to focus on becoming a fully trained soldier. He knew that this was important, so put his effort into it and learned a lot over the next few months. When it came time for him and his friends to step up to the front lines, he only felt the smallest tinge of fear. They were all fully trained and geared up with some of the best equipment in the world. Their boots hit the ground and they ran forwards through the mud towards cover. The group made sure to stick together and watch each other's backs, ensuring nobody got the drop on them. The squad laid down suppressing fire on the enemy whilst the rest of their force advanced, closing the distance on the communist threat. The fighting was intense but one-sided, the opposition being overrun by the American troops. As prisoners were rounded up, the Steampunk Soldier took a moment to lean against a wall and catch his breath. Things had gone by so quickly that he couldn't even recount what he had been doing a few seconds ago, and knew he needed to get his head back on straight. As he focused his mind, he recalled the sound that his steamwork contraptions used to make, the sharp whistling ringing in his ears. As the volume increased decibel by decibel, he suddenly realised that he wasn't remembering the sound at all. He sprung to his feet and bellowed a warning at his friends, but it was too late. The first mortar shell detonated less than 50 metres ahead of him, and he witnessed firsthand his friends being torn to shreds. He blindly ran forward, hoping there was something he could do to save whoever was left, but as the second shell landed, he felt a sharp pain in his side and fell to the ground. The searing agony caused his vision to blur and his body to start twitching. He could feel himself moving but couldn't tell how. As the pain continued to grow, he wished for death to take him and release him from his hell, but his cries and pleas were left unanswered. Eventually he passed out, and when he awoke, the pain had subsided and he was no longer on the front lines. He appeared to be in some form of field hospital, and his limbs were stiff. Clearly he had been laying on the cot below him for some time. During his recovery, he discovered that the only other survivor out of his group of friends was Nora, a girl who had always been intrigued by his creations, and supported him in all of his decisions. The two of them had both taken a lot of damage from the bombardment, but made strong recoveries thanks to the support they gave to one another. The pair eventually decided they would leave the army after they had served their tour of duty, and readjusted far better than most to civilian life. They ended up dedicating their lives to one another, and they wouldn't be separated until the day that the bombs fall, and they are rushed to Vault 111. The Steampunk Soldier has Strength 3, Perception 4, Endurance 7, a Charisma of 6, Intelligence at 1, Agility 3, and Luck 5. A Strength of 3 is a good base level to have for survival mode, providing a small boost to carry capacity and unlocking the Armourer perk. Perception is at 4, and this will provide decent VATS accuracy, especially at close ranges and when up by the early bobblehead. Endurance is our highest stat, sitting at 7. The Steampunk Soldier is a tough guy and can take a lot of damage before he goes down. This is going to help us stay in prolonged fights and not be taken out by any random lucky shots. Charisma is the second highest stat of the build and helps show the friendly side of his character. Although his personality certainly isn't for everyone, he happily accepts all of those who accept him, and this helps him create strong relationships. Intelligence is the dump stat of the build. This character isn't an idiot, but his mind is very finely tuned to only a few different things. I found that all of the other stats were more important for this character, and a low intelligence isn't too bad of a drawback, especially in survival where lack of water will drop the stat anyway. Agility is relatively low at 3. Old war wounds prevent the soldier from moving around too quickly, and his reactions have never been phenomenal. Last of all is luck, sat at 5. It's been a mixed bag for the steampunk soldier throughout his life, but overall he's made his way out of things more through luck rather than anything else. The essential perks of a build are Armourer, Rifleman, Commando, Demolition Expert and Lone Wanderer. Armourer is critical for keeping this build alive. Without it we go down in a few shots. With it we can tank for a hell of a lot longer. Rifleman and Commando are the damage perks for our weapons. You'll likely find yourself with more rifles than automatic weapons, so focus more on Rifleman as the priority, but don't neglect Commando as automatic weapons pack a real punch on survival mode. Demolition Expert adds even more damage to our arsenal, and keeps us topped up with explosives. Variety is a key part of this build, and that includes our different throwables. Make sure you've got a good supply of grenades and molotovs on your person at all times. Last and essential is Lone Wanderer. To anyone who has watched my previous survival mode builds, I apologise that all of them have used this perk so far, but it's just so amazing at everything. In the next build I promise to not use it, but for now just enjoy the huge number of bonuses it provides. The additional perks for this build are Local Leader, Sneak, Idiot Savant, and Adamantium Skeleton. Local Leader is going to allow us to set up a network of safe bases where we can rest, resupply and store anything we need whilst out on the move. Make these as steampunky as you possibly can, and make sure to equip your settlers in a similar loadout to you as possible. Sneak gives us a lot more options in combat situations. If you think you're outnumbered or outgunned, stick to the shadows and avoid a direct confrontation. You can then either disengage entirely, or get the drop on your enemies and hit them from the flank. Idiot Savant is going to be the perk that levels us, and also represents the fact that, despite being an Intelligence 1 character, the steampunk soldier has quite the talented mind. The final perk of the build is Adamantium Skeleton. This is always a solid choice for any character, and in survival mode, crippled limbs often precede death, so it's an even wiser choice to take this perk. The main faction for this build will be the Railroad. They fit in more than the others with the whole theme of this build. The most important reason to join up with the Railroad is so that you'll get your hands on Ballistic Weave, so make sure you do this as soon as you possibly can. In addition, you may also wish to help out the Minutemen, to some extent, as you do use settlements a fair bit with this build. Siding with them can also provide you with artillery at those settlements, something that can be of great use whenever in combat near to those places. The main follower for this build will be Dogmeat, as I once again went with Lone Wanderer. Dogmeat also makes the best choice as you can gear him up to match your aesthetic. I had him wearing heavy dog armour, a red bandana, and, most importantly, welding goggles. When playing as this build, you will want to limit your weapons to double barrel shotguns, railway rifles, and any form of pipe weaponry. This is to make it fit in with the theme of the character, and at first you may think that this is a terrible setup, but I was able to do plenty of damage with these weapons, and thanks to the various drops you get of each of them, you don't need to invest in any of the modding perks, as you can just strip mods off of other weapons. The large number of them also increases the chances you have of a random legendary weapon drop fitting into the build. I would advise putting most of your weapons as powerful rifles, meant to deal out large amounts of damage, but make sure to also have an auto .38 rifle for a staggering amount of DPS on survival. You'll see from my footage that this gun can do some real damage up close, and thanks to the large magazine you can lay down suppressing fire when you need to as well. Obviously, a large amount of what you do will be limited by the drops you get, so make sure you're adaptable and carry around a few different weapons with you. The steampunk soldier wears Macready's duster, a battered fedora, and welding goggles. Macready's duster will grant you +1 to your agility, helping keep your speed up and providing you with more action points. More importantly, however, it's ballistic weave compatible, and therefore can be given a high armor rating to help keep you alive. We go with the battered fedora for the same reason. The extra point of luck isn't that important, but the ridiculous increase in damage and energy resistance from Ballistic Weave will double our overall resistances. The welding goggles are obviously chosen to complete the steampunk look of the character, but they also do raise perception for slightly better VATS accuracy. Although I didn't personally end up using any power armor with this build, it is by no means off limits. You'll obviously want to try and stick with the same feel of the build, and I would recommend limiting your suit to a mix of Raider and T45 power armor. Combining these two sets together should give a nice ramshackle look to the character. This character is surprisingly versatile, and you should use this to your advantage. You deal good damage at all ranges, and have high mobility, so make sure your enemies fight at their weakest range. If dealing with melee enemies, snipe them and keep falling back so they can't deal damage to you. And if dealing with sharpshooters, get up close and personal with your shotgun. From a role-playing standpoint, there's nothing you specifically need to do with this character. Just have fun playing and go through survival however you enjoy. Thanks to all of you who have watched this build through to the outro. If you're new around here, make sure to subscribe and take a look at some of my other Fallout 4 builds. If you enjoyed the video, then make sure to give it a like, and maybe even a share too. And last of all, if you have any comments, then there's a comment section below as well. And apologies if this all sounds terrible, I'm ill. Yeah, I apologise for that. But let's finish this. Finish off, be professional, Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.